Ribalta's red, white and blue trunks. He's a big man, but the trunks look as though they're made for somebody even bigger. I honestly think I could probably camp out in them. Bruno's 3 defeats: Bone Crusher Smith, Tim with a Spoon and Mike Tyson.
This, ladies and gentlemen, is the main event on this evening's programme, sponsored by the Daily Mirror and the Sunday Mirror. National Promotions present an international heavyweight contest of 10 3-minute rounds. Presenting and introducing in this corner, ladies and gentlemen, from Miami in the United States of America, Jose Ribalta. And from London, ladies and gentlemen, Bruno. At the weigh-in at the Odeon Leicester Square today, Ribalta scale 16 stones 8 pounds, Bruno 16 stones 10 pounds. The referee for this contest, Mr. Roy Francis. The timekeeper, Mr. Tom Rice.
Roy Francis is the referee, a man who in this very ring here at Wembley when he was an amateur knocked out an American called Frankie Davis, and people still write to me about it. So chicken to 10. Bruno on the red trunks. Bruno's 3rd fight in 4.5 years. Been out of the ring since last November. Ribalta hasn't been in the ring since last May, when he was appointed by the South African Pierre Coetzee, the man who's being touted as possibly Bruno's next opponent if he gets successfully through this one. Bruno's jab looking quite sharp. Been known to knock men out with that. Ribalta taking his time. Can be put down. Tyson did it, and Bruno's threatening to do it. And Ribalta very quick to grab and hold there when he was in trouble on the ropes. No aggression so far from the Cuban. Looking pretty sharp and very menacing. He was very, very upset at what Ribalta said at that press conference, and he glares at Ribalta as the two men separate after an opening round which Bruno has won by a mile. So Bruno comes out looking sharp tonight, again, always very fit. And at one point here, he had Ribalta on the ropes and began to put one or two extremely ominous punches together. And Ribalta tried to ward them off with his gloves, and he couldn't. And he was very quick to come in and grab for dear life. Another angle on it. Some of these punches of Bruno's just slightly off target. Again, that might be an indication of how little real competition he's had over the last 4 years. Ribalta just tried to sit on his stool and somebody had taken it away.
Round 2.
Ribalta's got so much beard on him that where they've rubbed him with the towel, the nap of the towel has come off. Now he looks like a man with a grey beard. Well, Ribalta so far has shown nothing but a fairly negative attitude, as though he's come to last as long as possible, but it could be deceptive. He's a lot better than this. Well, Ribalta told not to hold, and Ribalta complained to the referee that he was being thumped on the back of the neck. Bit of needle here. He doesn't at the moment anyway. Looks like a 30-year-old who's coming towards the end of a career. He's looking quite young and sprightly. That's a good right hand, and the man's right above me, and he's almost coming out on top of me. And down goes Ribalta, and what are people going to say about that? Was that a bum opponent? Everybody said he was a good one. He's knocked out. Round 2, Bruno's won again. Now what are they going to say? The big punch of Bruno has absolutely rendered him unconscious, and I hope he's all right. Well, this fight, which was sponsored by the Daily Mirror and the Sunday Mirror, has come to a dramatic, indeed sensational end. A man who was, everybody described him as a real live opponent, and he has succumbed in the second round to a few big punches from the big man Bruno, who's done it again. And I don't like what is going on in the ring because Ribalta has not come to yet. Just beginning to stir. He is quite badly concussed. Well, let's look at that ending again. Frank was in a determined mood tonight. Here he comes, with the man on the ropes again. He was strapped in the first round like this, got away with it. This time it was different. What a thundering right hand that was. That came from way back, and he had no defense against it. And from this moment he threatened to come toppling over the top rope, right above me. And I expected 6.5 feet of Cuban to land on me, but he landed inside the ropes and was sparked out. The camera right over our heads. Big right hand, this is a thundering right. And almost no man in the world would survive that. It's the sort of punch that disturbed Tyson when Frank hit him. He had him going here, and Frank didn't let him off the hook. And I think, to be honest, he was unconscious when he was over the rope, and he's still on the ring floor. Well, a triumphant night for Bruno. And they knocked him after him. Can they knock him now?
1 minute, 44 seconds of round 2, ladies and gentlemen. For winner on a count now, Bruno!
Now that is a very significant win in the world of heavyweight boxing, because Ribalta had been 10 rounds with Tyson. He fought Bone Crusher Smith. He'd gone 10 rounds with Pierre Coetzee, the South African, who is ranked the number one contender by the IBF. And here, Frank Bruno, at 30, has disposed of him inside 2 rounds. And thankfully Ribalta is now on his feet, and one hopes perfectly all right. They've given him a stool to sit on, which is what he didn't have in his corner. So, Wembley resounding to the cheers for Bruno tonight.
Once again, the winner, ladies and gentlemen,
And I can only say that Bruno has done his job correctly, professionally, and really quite sensationally, and the word is going to get all around the world of heavyweight boxing very quickly.
So Bruno hopefully will be moving on to his 3rd world title bid. Well, Harry was wondering what people will be saying. Let's hear what 2 heavyweights think about that performance. First you, Gary.
Well, remember, I said within the first 4, so the performance was predictable, wasn't it?
Predictable by you, but not by everybody.
Well, I don't know.
You did well.
Yeah. No, Frank did was a very good punch, but what we didn't see there was Ribalta made no offensive moves. He didn't attack Frank. He never hit Frank. So what Frank has done is what we know he can do. We've always known that he can punch hard, and anybody that Frank hits, he has the capability of knocking them out. But what we want to know is what's going to happen when somebody hits Frank back. As his attitude changed, will he go forward again? And that wasn't answered tonight.
Well, alongside you is a man that might just hit him back if they ever get in the ring together, Lennox Lewis. What was your view of that?
Well, I was really surprised with Ribalta. He definitely showed no offense. He showed a lot of defense, and he looked like he was just there to survive as long as he could. And, you know, any man can hit a man when he's not throwing any punches back. So
he talked a good fight beforehand, but he didn't really fight a good fight with Ribalta, did he?
Definitely not. I was really surprised and shocked.
Let's look at that, the knockout blow. Gary?
It was a very good right hand, the classic Frank Bruno right hand. His legs spread wide, deep down, overhand there, it comes over the top. A long punch, but they do hurt. Look, bang, but that shouldn't have hit Ribalta, to be honest, because it came from too far back, didn't it?
Yeah, he started to fight back there for a moment or two.
As you can see, he's still coherent because his hands are up, he's protecting himself. I think the ref was a bit late
The ref should
in
stop, don't tell me that, because Frank's actually behind him and hitting him while his back's turned, which is shows the sign of aggression though, doesn't it? At least Frank's got some aggression in him now.
What would you think the public might make of this, Lennox? What do you think they'll be saying tomorrow about this win?
Well, I think avid boxing fans that know boxing would realize that Bruno needs somebody in there that's going to throw punches back, preferably Lennox Lewis. And but the normal guy out there that don't know anything about boxing, that is a Bruno fan, will, you know, pick him up.
Well, how would you feel about your chances against Bruno? Supposing that fight was made, I suspect there's an awful lot of money around for it somewhere along the line.
I would knock Bruno out in 3 rounds. I have no qualms in saying that. I would knock him out in 3 rounds.
That was a brave statement on television, isn't it? You got all the Bruno men that they're going to knock him out in 3 rounds. That is a realistic possibility. But I think it's very unlikely now that Lennox and Bruno will actually fight, because what will happen is that Frank Bruno is going to fight Kutsia, or the South African, and I actually think that he is an easier opponent than this one was tonight. So Frank will get that over with quickly, and then with Mickey Duff and his connections, they might slip him in.
If he gets to Holyfield before you do, would he beat Holyfield?
He wouldn't beat Holyfield. I don't think he'll beat Holyfield. But then again, you never know, because this is boxing. When you get 2 big heavyweights in there throwing hard shots, and Bruno definitely can throw some hard shots. And, you know, you got to look at Holyfield. His chin is very questionable.
But of course you'd beat Holyfield.
I would beat Holyfield as well.
What do you think would happen? Do you think he'd beat Holyfield, Lennox?
Yeah, Lennox has started to beat Holyfield very easily, and I think with his new trainer, Pepe Correa, it's going to bring out the best in Lennox Lewis. Because the trainers, sometimes you have to get a trainer that suits your style, and I think Pepe Correa suits Lennox Lewis's style, and he'll give him a lot more flair and style in his boxing, which will make him a better fighter.
Meanwhile, the Frank Bruno bandwagon goes on, and I suspect we'll be hearing from Frank himself in a moment or two. And of course, we've got snooker to come with Jimmy White and all the football news. But first, a brief look ahead to another big boxing occasion. On Saturday night, Paul Hodgkinson defends his WBC World Featherweight title against Steve Cruz of the United States. Jim Neely now reports.
It's been almost 6 years since an unknown featherweight from Fort Worth in Texas defeated Barry McGuigan in the blistering heat of Las Vegas. Steve Cruz, a last-minute substitute, produced the upset of the year to become the WBA World Champion and virtually end the career of one of Britain's most popular and most successful boxers. At ringside that day was Liverpool's Paul Hodkinson, whose amateur career was blossoming nicely following an ABA featherweight title win, but for whom the lure of the professional game was to prove irresistible.
Well, at the time I was over in Vegas, it should have been training for the Commonwealth Games. The end of it, you know, Danica was up Palace, you know, but I chose to go to Vegas, you know. I thought the experience over there and mixing with them kind of people would give me a better chance of a gold medal in Edinburgh, like, but, you know, they didn't see that side of it, and, you know, they threw me out the team and decided to stay professional.
At that stage, did you believe that you would go on to do what Barry McGuigan did and become a world champion?
No, I didn't actually believe, you know, it was, I was just over there working and training, you know. It was, I know I had a very long hard road ahead of me, you know, but I dreamt of becoming a world champion. I didn't ever think I'd ever do it.
Steve Cruz was never able to repeat his title-winning performance, losing the crown in his first defence. It's been over a year now since his last fight. He was stopped in 3 rounds, ironically, in Las Vegas, and somewhat surprisingly has found himself elevated from almost 30th to 10th place in the rankings.
I had expected a lot more from being the world champion at the time, and everything didn't happen to me as I thought, and it just left a sour taste in my mouth. I don't think that the layoff's going to hurt me. I think it's going to help me more than what it hurt me.
How much do you know about Paul Hodkinson?
I've seen him fight at Marcos Villasana 2 times, and I know he's tough. I know that he's rugged, and he'll be there for 12 rounds, right in my face.
How do you feel about his actual ability to end fight?
He looks like he'll stay in there. He's a brawler, and he wants to be in there and fight with you, and he's bang you all up. So that's all I could see of him.
Does it really bother you what particular way he wishes to fight?
No, he doesn't. No, it doesn't, because I'm just going to go out there and fight the way I know how to fight best, you know. And I'm going to go out there and give it everything that I've got, the way that I fight, my style of fighting, and try to turn it around and make it my fight.
Hodkinson is one of 4 world champions in the Barney Eastwood stable. But if the Texan visitors have their way, there'll be one fewer belt in Belfast come Saturday night.
Steve's going to do what he does best, and that's box, move laterally, and if the big punch comes, he'll try to finish his man.
Would you say going to 12 rounds?
Personally, I don't think so. I think this fight will end within 8 or 9 rounds, personally. That's my personal opinion.
And may I ask you which way you think it'll go?
I only came to Ireland for one thing, and that's the title.
They all talk a good fight, and that fight, Hodkinson versus Cruz, live for you on Saturday night. Now here, of course, we've had a 2-round victory for Frank Bruno tonight. Let's hear from Frank. He's with Harry.
Frank, you got a real roasting from the critics when you put John Emmon away. Yeah. Now you've done this man who was considered to be pretty dangerous. I just wonder what they're going to say about this one.
I'm not too sure, Harry. They might say pass the sauce. I'm not too sure what they're saying about this, but I'm just glad that everything went all right, because the guy brought the game a little bit into disrepute. Right? But when it comes to silly and everything, I'm glad.
Over what he said about your eye?
Yeah, I know people can go in the ring and do whatever they want to do, but when they start bringing their game into disrepute, like you say, Harry, it's a bit sad, but I'm glad it's all over.
Well, when you came into the ring, you looked a bit serious and a bit somber, and I thought you didn't like what he said and you were going to have your own back on him, and you did, didn't you?
Harry, it's a very serious game, boxing, mate. It's not like commentating.
You don't have to tell me else, I know. Now, listen, seriously, you must be well pleased with what you've done, because this man was considered to be a very dangerous opponent.
He was a very, very durable and very dangerous opponent. You know, everybody knew that he was going to do the boxing. Who said it? Colin Hart. Everybody said, you know, I mean, that he's going to be dangerous and he's tricky, and his record stands for itself and his tape stands for itself. But I'm glad everything's over and I'm the winner, Harry, you know.
That right hand you hit him with in the second round when you dragged him over the ropes, I mean, that looked to me as good a right hand as you've ever thrown in your life.
I've got to look at the tape again, because I remember once Chamber come in and scored me with the punch, and I went numb for a couple of seconds, and I said, what punch, Harry? I remember hit connecting with the right, but I was chucking so many punches that I just wanted to get it over and done with, and it's done, and I'm glad, and I thank God.
When you came to the corner at the end of the first, did you have any idea then that you might get it over that quickly?
George was telling me, be cool all the time doing what you've been doing in the gym, because I've been sparring with a guy called Wanda, who's a very talented guy, very, very good guy. And I was sparring with a guy called Bigfoot, and they're very tall, you know, and he's helped me with my speed work and power work. But George said, just do what you're doing in the gym, and I've done it, you know. I'd like to say thanks to everybody at Springs for looking after me once again.
I heard Gary Mason say at the end of the fight that he thought you'd done your job very well, but on the other hand, Ribalta hadn't really shown any aggression. Now, what do you say about that?
That's very naughty of Gary Mason, because he's always jumping on the bandwagon and always criticising. Ribalta came here to do a critical job on me, you know. I mean, he was going to try every trick in the book to do, but I went out there, I was first, I wasn't hesitating, I was using my jab, using my right hand, and I gave him a chance to really get into the fight. So it's wrong of Gary Mason to say that, but he can keep on saying what he wants. He's getting paid by the BBC and he gets paid by serious papers. But, you know, he can say what he wants to say. But Harry, all I'm concerned about, that I've won the fight, it's over, and I can look forward to the next day.
I was amazed, because you come out looking very sharp. I mean, you haven't been in the ring since November, and then you hadn't been in the ring for 3 years before that. And yet you came out tonight, you look like a man who hadn't been away at all.
Harry, as I said, I've done about 150 rounds, and if you can do a lot of rounds with Wanda, Bigfoot, and do about since I've been back, I must have done about 400 rounds all in all. I feel pretty confident with in my mind, in my body. I'm maturing. It's the heaviest I ever weighed today, 16 stone, 10 and a quarter.
Slow you down?
It didn't slow me down, because George was always saying I should sort of maintain my weight. I keep on trying to hold it down. But I'm maturing, Harry, getting a bit more of a man. I'm 30 now. I'm not no grey hairs yet, but I'm maturing.
Got another 10 years in you yet?
I don't think so, Harry. I might have 10 years to use me Black and Decker, but that's about what I think.
Frank, well done tonight.
Thank you very much, and all your listeners. Take it easy.
Well done, Frank. Couldn't stop him talking tonight. He gave you a tiny bit of stick there, Gary, for your opinions, but you gave your opinions in a forthright and realistic manner. And
I don't know, I think, and what happens to Frank is he thinks I'm jumping on his case all the time, but for anybody watching this fight, if they saw Ribalta do anything that might have endangered Frank, then they weren't watching the same thing that I was watching.
they should write in.
Well, yeah, do that and tell me what you think, yeah. All I did was stated my opinion. If Frank's offended by that, I can't help that, because you can't please all the people all the time, so you please yourself and it makes you happy.
Okay, and thanks very much, Gary Mason. And a final thought from Lennox about Frank tonight.
Well, he definitely needs to step up in opponents, and he needs to be tested. Hopefully somebody will throw a punch back at him and see how he can react off of that.
And it could be you.
It will be me, hopefully, if Mickey Duff gets his act together.
You're
I'm here.
ready.
I'm the man at the top. If he wants to be taken seriously, he has to come after me.
Okay, Lennox Lewis, Gary Mason, thank you very much indeed for being with us tonight. Well, now